Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing this morning? Let's talk about the Nolan Wells thing for a second. I was on a live last night, and this is the honest to God's truth, and I'm going to even post in the hashtags where you can go find and listen to it. So here's what happened. They killed Nolan Wells on the boat. They covered him up with the life jackets. They all knew he was on the boat. They just laid him on the back of the boat and got towed in part of the way. Then they got their boat running and they got on in. And when they got in, they couldn't figure out where they were going to put him or what they were going to do. So they dropped everybody off. Then they went back out to the island that the GPS doesn't show, but they did because they disconnected it. Okay? And none of them had their phones with them when they went back. So there wasn't any trace of them going back. And they dumped the body. They came back, took the boat out of the water, then went over there at 3 a.m. and washed the boat, thinking washing the boat would get all the DNA and everything off the boat. That's what they did. Now I'm telling you, the stories are unbelievable at this point. You can't make this up. First, it was about leaving the island. Well, that one blew up. Found out 2 people were at the island, saw him. Then the Coast Guard, Coast Guard call, CETO call. Nolan, oh my God, Nolan, get up. They heard that. Can't make it up. Not making it up. Then there was the phone, Warren's phone. Now, this. And also, last night, we have a bunch of body experts of their body movements in their interviews that they were not telling the truth. That they're body experts, they moved their eyes like that or moved like that or, they looked up or, something. But I'm telling you, the authorities should use these TikTok creators to solve this case. They are some of the smartest people you will ever encounter. They were talking about the justice system being unfair. I asked them what the 3 legislative bodies of justice were in the United States. They said, well, it's the state, the local, and the sheriff. Okay? It's amazing when you ask a simple question, you can't even get an answer. They don't know the port side from the starboard side on a boat, but yet they know all about boating. It's absolutely amazing, people. And if you will sit back and listen to some of these other lives, I'm going to post the live on my link if you want to listen to a rational discussion of the best live on TikTok. I'm going to post it. Go over there and listen to it. I'm afraid if I say it, I may say it wrong. But that's my body language right there. So anyway, y'all have a good day.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What do we have here, y'all? What do we owe? That's Nolan right there, y'all. That's Nolan right there. I'm trying to do it slow for y'all. This one of them breeze by. You know how they do the little boomerang thing on Instagram and all. It's one of those. Y'all, I woke up to a lot this morning. We got a lot of lies being disproved. And we got more video footage, y'all. And I want y'all to let me know. Do y'all think this is real? Or do y'all think this is AI? I don't think it's AI at all. Because when y'all see this, y'all ain't gonna see no 6 fingers and 2 arms and all of that. Everything looks in line. Before we get into it, y'all make sure y'all hit that hype button. Make sure you like the video. And make sure, for those that's in the back, stuck in their ways, you never hit no buttons, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Check this out, y'all.
Yes, sister, friend, I will share a longer version. I'm going to add it to this one. But the purpose of this video, I couldn't even sleep last night because I was trying to put A, B, C together. So this picture, the video, excuse me, on June the 23rd helps in a lot of ways because Warren stated in all of the videos in his interviews that they were a tight-knit group of people. And he also said that there were around 20 to 30 people scattered in those 3 or 4 different boats that they had taken, correct? Okay, so
we seen this one?
The trip on June the 23rd, per Warren, are a tight-knit group of people, would be the same people that we saw inside this picture.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What do we have here, y'all? What do we owe? That's Nolan right there, y'all. That's Nolan right there. I'm trying to do it slow for y'all. This one of them breeze by. You know how they do the little boomerang thing on Instagram and all. It's one of those. Y'all see that? So I want y'all to pay attention to see everybody. I'm gonna see who that is in the front. Y'all see this? That's Nolan. That is Nolan. I'm trying to see who it. So you got all these damn people ain't saying nothing. This is wild. 1, 2, 3. There's somebody right here in the cut. There's somebody right here. Somebody right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's somebody at the front of a driver. 5, 6, 7. Justice for Nolan, man. Let's get it, y'all. Look, 2 right there. Hold on.
So
2
that
up
is
there.
where I'm.
2 up there.
So that is.
Look, 2 up there. Just enjoying the breeze and shit. That's sad, man. Sad, man.
So that is where I'm going with the video because Warren, again, said that they were a tight-knit group of friends. Like there's no outsiders in their circle. And so the same people that are on that video on June the 23rd are the same people that are in that still image on Horns Island, allegedly Horns Island, that we see here.
So that's for those that don't get what she was saying, because I was running my mouth, what she was insinuating is that being as though that they've been implying so much that they're a tight-knit group, tight-knit group, tight-knit group. She showed a video of the tight-knit group with each other. Why the hell the tight-knit group ain't coming out saying nothing? You're tight-knit. Why would Nolan Wells want to go off and venture by himself? And then you had one of the young men say, Nolan always was trying to be with us. Nolan always trying to be on the boat.
If 3 black people took a white man on a boat expedition and didn't return with him, the president would be making a speech right now. There is a double standard of justice and coverage. But here's why Kevin discusses in a great post about the national news's silence on Nolan Wells. If you Google Nolan Wells New York Times, there is no article. Nolan Wells MSNBC, nope, they haven't written one. By CNN, all that they have is a TikTok-style video, no written article. And the Washington Post finally has an article only after his body was found. Here's why Kevin references a study that found while black people make up roughly 35% of missing persons cases in the FBI database at the time of the study, they received only 7 to 11% of media coverage. This is why local news outlets like the Mississippi Free Press that's been reporting on this are so important, and why it's so dangerous that news has been consolidating into these big billionaire-owned corporations, forcing lots of local outlets recently to keep shutting down. You can find the GoFundMe of Nolan's family at the Schmink and My Schmio. And one of the most important things is that families will tell you what they need. Sometimes that's privacy, spreading the word, financial support. We don't want to assume, we want to let them tell us how to help. His mother's request a couple days ago was if you have any pictures or videos that were taken on the northwest tip of Horn Island on July 4th, to reach out to her. This is her Threads account, and you can provide evidence to help their investigation.
This is why we must be our own news. We cannot look for these people to save us, y'all. We cannot look to these people to push out our message and try to get justice for us. They are all connected, y'all. This is why I be telling us, look, we got to do this together, y'all.
How does young men who we don't really have any evidence that committed a crime, how do they get painted as criminals? How do they get painted as being responsible for the death of a person that was considered their friend?
By putting you on the case. For real, that's like someone accused of SA and then turning Republican. It's pretty much an admission of guilt. For real, why are you even on the case? You're not a cop anymore, Anthony Anderson, who would never be in Blackish. You asked, how do they get painted as criminals? How do you paint them innocent? All you are doing is defending those kids. You're interviewing them. You're pretty much their spokesperson. And just like with Sonia Massey, George Floyd, and everyone else, you're lying about this case. You said those kids took polygraph tests. Now you were checked and proven wrong by Nancy Grace. But here's her interviewing the kid's lawyer.
Have your clients taken polygraphs?
Nancy, my clients have not taken a polygraph test.
Now this guy here is the boy's lawyer. His name is Tyler Cox. Of course it's Tyler Cox. Now what does this lawyer want you to see? Advertisement for his business, Call Cox, and a bottle. The only 2 things he's advertising, his business and another business. Now if you zoom in, you'll clearly see it's a bottle of Verdict bourbon. And he's been doing interviews all over, and he always has that bottle of bourbon behind him. Now, here's Brandon Tatum's podcast. What do you see? I see Verdict bourbon, right? Verdict bourbon is owned by Brandon Tatum. What a coincidence! So you don't think it's a conflict of interest for someone to market your product, who's also the lawyer of the white boys that you are protecting and painting innocent? Now I'm positive Brandon Tatum's gonna have a weak ass excuse. Yeah, when I met him, I gave him a bottle because Verdict, he's a lawyer, Verdict, you know. But if the lawyer had any brains at all, he would see how this would look. By the way, you're defending those kids, Brandon. I wouldn't be surprised if they were drinking Verdict bourbon on the boat. Please threaten to sue me again, Brandon. Let's take this shit to discovery.
I just received this message in my inbox and it says, I was present during the events involving Nolan. Nolan was on the island with a girl while he had his phone. He later returned to his friends and they all sailed back to shore. After that, his phone's location moved back and forth before ending up at Evan's house. As around 1 a.m., Nolan had asked for his phone back after he had been taken. Physical altercation followed. He said they observed Nolan gasping for air and coughing up blood. On July the 5th, search teams did not find Nolan. But based on the timeline and the information available to him, I believe that his body was moved sometime late in the evening of July the 5th or during early hours of July the 6th. They are saying that's exactly why there was nothing found in the initial search for Nolan. They believe that Nolan was unalive between July 5th and or either July the 6th. Those final conclusions are their personal beliefs based on them being a witness and knowing. Unfortunately, they weren't on the island to witness or give direct times of the dumping of his body. is unfortunately being covered up. One of the boys' mom, who is a judge, went to her house, and that's where the boat was cleaned because she knows what to use to clear evidence because she is a judge. This is truly... Now, all of this is alleged, y'all. It's just...
I want y'all to pay close attention to this next video because he's going to expound on something that I've been meaning to talk about, and it's this moving on up mindset that we have in the black community. When we get a bunch of money or we elevate in life, we feel as though we gotta move and be amongst different people and just leave our own community. And he goes on to say that that may be the problem, trying to assimilate with the people that don't even like us, y'all. Check this out.
Allow me to drop a thought. Black parents must come to realize that they may be part of the problem when their kids lose sight of their own cultural heritage and race. Some black parents love the idea of their black kid being the only black kid in a white group. They somehow believe that it's progress and indications of great success when they can claim mostly white friends. There is an inherent danger when our kids grow up with this illusion of inclusion. Now take, for instance, the Nolan Wells case. It should be a warning shot to all black parents. Stop patting yourself on the back just because you've escaped your own people. At some point, you will realize that all you might have one day are your own people. We have been taught and programmed to not think well of our own race. Therefore, we associate everything good with being white. Now, without any chastisement of the Wells parents, I truly believe that they will search their own souls and parenting styles in regard to their tragic loss. Isolation is isolation. We could not afford to allow our children to isolate themselves in groups that lack other members of their own race. Example.
So the part I want to expound on is when our people get money or whatever, and we feel like we got to disassociate ourselves from our own people. I don't think Nolan Wells' parents did that. I believe Nolan Wells was happy when he was around his own people, like when we see in the TikTok videos. We don't see any TikTok videos of Nolan Wells dancing, doing TikToks, happy and smiling when he's with those white boys. I don't see it, but I don't believe that Miss Christine Wansley and Elmore left the black community just to be around the white community. I feel as though Nolan was associating himself with people that will not accept him. They would never accept him. And I think it would have been best that he stayed around his people.
We got a governor who comes out immediately during a murder investigation and says, we see no foul play. Some people thought that was suspicious, but it turns out that the governor is actually friends with one of the persons who is suspected of being involved, parents. What does a personal connection, or when does a personal connection become a legal conflict in your opinion?
Right here, right now, we have all the makings of a cover-up.
Boom. Now that, you know what? Now, we are making progress because I stood there the whole time and I said, this is what it is. But you were reluctant to say that. You were extremely reluctant to say that. And I'm going to tell you, man, for you to come around and hear that evidence, to see how things are stacking up, for you to actually change your position. Most people will not change their position. They'll stand on that hill. They don't give a damn what evidence is presented. They're going to stand on that hill. For you to hear this new findings and to be able to say, they're in trouble, it says a lot about your character.
Thank you. I've always tried to call balls and strikes, right? I've always tried to be objective from a legal standpoint. I always say that again and again, right? This is a problem. This is a problem out the gate. You are on the money. Okay. The fact of the matter is, too many politicians, too many elected officials are tied way too close to too many potential, if not outright, suspects. That's what you have here. That's as clear as day. Now, what that means, people are going to have different opinions, but the conflict is glaring. This is problematic on a lot of levels for the state, for the county, for these individuals, and the longer they stay voluntarily tied to this investigation, the worse it is for them, because they are held to a greater public scrutiny. They're held to higher burdens that we can really dive into their pasts.
There you have it, y'all. We got an attorney who was once on the other side, but then he was man enough to come out after all this stuff we starting to see on the internet. Cito call, these little young men up there lying on podcasts. He like, nah, something fishy. Let me go and come out and let them know I ain't on that side no more. That's a man, somebody who admits when they were in the wrong. But like he said, there are way too many people that are connected with this, people of power. So if one go down, it's gonna be a lot of people to go down, because you're gonna have some snitches up in there too. How did you figure this out? Who assisted you with this? Oh, it was, we'll reduce your time. We'll let you get out. Oh yeah, it was my mom, and then she called some people, and then those people called some people, then them people called some people. And next thing you know, that's the bombshell right there, y'all. But y'all get in the comment section. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that snippet of the tight-knit group.
A dispatcher asks one question. 4 words. Is everybody on board? And a voice on the radio answers without hesitation, yeah, everybody's on. 2 days later, a National Park Service ranger pulls a body out of the water less than a mile from where that call was made. His own mother won't be the one to identify him. Dental records will do that instead. Somewhere in the gap between that radio call and a boat pulling away from a barrier island at 4:31 in the afternoon, an 18-year-old kid stopped being part of the group that swore, on record, that everyone made it back. His phone never left that boat. His Snapchat, an account that posted constantly, multiple times a day, went completely silent for the first time in months, on the one day it mattered most. And to this day, 2 people who were both standing there for his final conversation still can't agree on which direction he said he was walking. This is the case of Nolan Wells. And before we go any further, this one gets dark. There are details ahead involving a death investigation that some viewers may find disturbing. If that's not what you're here for today, this is your moment to step away. For everyone else, welcome to the Crime Ledger. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe, drop a like, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. If you know someone who's been following this case, send them this video. Now let's get into what actually happened to Nolan Wells. Nolan Xavier Wells was 18 years old. A graduate of Ocean Springs High School, where he played wide receiver, he had just started his first season at Southwest Mississippi Community College, chasing a real shot at a football career. His mother, Christine Wansley, has described him as a special soul, someone who never met a stranger. Friends say the same thing in different words. He was the kind of person who could walk into a group he didn't know and be part of it within minutes. On the night of July 3rd, Nolan was at his parents' home before heading to a friend's house to stay the night. Before he left, he told his mother, "Hey Mom, I'm about to go, I love you." He gave her a kiss and a hug. That was the last time Christine Wansley heard her son's voice in person. The next morning, July 4th, Nolan left from a private dock in the Ocean Springs area with a group of friends. Their destination was Horn Island, a barrier island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, roughly 10 miles from shore. Nolan was last seen wearing blue swim trunks, no shirt, and sunglasses. The group's boat made the crossing and arrived on the island that morning, joining what has become a long-running 4th of July tradition along that stretch of coast. Horn Island itself has no permanent buildings, no lifeguards, and no medical facilities. Cell service is unreliable at best, and largely absent across most of the island. It is reachable only by private boat. On a holiday weekend, that isolation doesn't keep people away. It draws them. Hundreds of boats anchor along its shoreline every 4th of July, filled with music, coolers, and crowds who return year after year for exactly that reason, a party with no oversight and no easy way out. That is the setting Nolan Wells walked into that morning. Surrounded by friends, on an island most of Mississippi's Gulf Coast treats as an unofficial holiday tradition. Before we go further into what happened next, if you're new here, this channel tracks major unsolved and ongoing cases as new information comes in, not months after the headlines fade. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next update on this case the moment it breaks. Let's continue. According to the friends who were with him, Nolan Wells was last seen on Horn Island at around 3 o'clock that afternoon. By that point, the group had spent hours on the island, part of a crowd stretched along the northwest tip, doing what everyone else there was doing. Swimming, drinking, listening to music. Nothing about the day, up to that point, stood out as anything other than an ordinary holiday. Sometime after 3, the account gets more specific. The friend group has said their boat began taking on water, caused by a failed bilge pump. Sheriff John Ledbetter later told reporters that the group left the island and returned home without Nolan. From what we understand, he chose to stay there, Ledbetter said. That single detail, a mechanical failure forcing an early departure, is the reason the group has given for why they left when they did, and why Nolan was not with them when they did. Garmin GPS data recovered from the boat and reviewed by investigators tells a more precise story. According to reporting from CBS News and confirmed through records obtained from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, the vessel left Horn Island at 4:31 in the afternoon. From there, the boat did not go straight home. It returned to its original dock, then moved into Fort Bayou, back to the dock again, and out once more to a boat launch that evening, before eventually being transported by land. That is a confirmed, time-stamped record of where that specific boat went after leaving the island, hours before anyone reported Nolan missing. Nolan's phone did not leave the island with him. It stayed behind, left on the boat's dashboard along with several other phones belonging to friends in the group. Multiple people in the friend group have told reporters this was standard practice that day, a way to keep devices dry and off the water. It's a common habit among groups spending a day on a boat. But it also means that when Nolan needed to be reached, or needed to reach anyone, the one device that could have placed him anywhere that evening simply wasn't with him. That leaves the central, unresolved gap in this case. If the boat left the island at 4:31, and Nolan was last seen around 3, what happened to him somewhere inside that window remains unknown. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office has confirmed Nolan did not return on that boat. Investigators have not said, publicly, whether he was still on the island when it departed, or what happened to him if he wasn't. In the days immediately following Nolan's disappearance, Sheriff Ledbetter's office said there was no information suggesting a crime had occurred. That statement, delivered before a body was even found, is the one many people point back to now. Ledbetter's office has since acknowledged that its language has shifted as the investigation developed, saying the department has since conducted formal witness interviews and remains in contact with outside agencies. But that early statement is the one that stuck, and the one this case has spent weeks trying to move past. When Nolan didn't come home that night, and didn't answer his phone, his mother Christine Wansley reported him missing at midnight on July 4th. By then, hours had already passed since anyone in his friend group had seen him. A missing persons case involving an 18-year-old who'd vanished from a remote barrier island set off an urgent response almost immediately. The search that followed involved multiple agencies working at once. The U.S. Coast Guard, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, and the National Park Service all committed resources to searching the waters and shoreline around Horn Island. Volunteer search and rescue groups joined as well, including United Cajun Navy, an organization with a long history of stepping in on exactly this kind of case. For 2 full days, teams combed the island and the surrounding water, working against tides, heat, and the sheer size of the search area. On July 6, a National Park Service ranger found Nolan's body in the water off the island's northwestern tip, close to where he'd last been seen 2 days earlier. The search that began as a rescue effort ended as a recovery. Formal identification did not come through a visual confirmation from a family member. It came through dental records instead. That detail matters, because it tells you something about the condition Nolan was found in without requiring more explanation than that. Jackson County Coroner Bruce Lynn said publicly that there were no immediate signs of physical injury on the body. For a case that had already drawn national attention, that statement, paired with the sheriff's earlier comments, became one more reason the public started asking harder questions instead of fewer. Weeks later, a new detail added more weight to those questions. According to records obtained by people through an open records request, Jackson County has not recorded a single drowning death at Horn Island in the past 6 years. That doesn't mean drownings never happen near it. A separate drowning investigation was recorded at nearby Petit Bois Island during that same period, and officials confirmed a teenage girl was pulled from the water in critical condition near Dauphin Island. But at Horn Island specifically, the water where Nolan was found, 6 years without a single recorded drowning is not nothing. It's the kind of statistic that turns a routine tragedy into a case people want a fuller explanation for. As scrutiny around the case grew, the Wells family retained civil rights attorney Ben Crump. Crump wrote publicly that the family deserved answers and deserved the truth, stating his team would not rest until every fact about what happened to Nolan on Horn Island came to light, and calling on investigators to pursue the case with the urgency the family deserved. That statement marked the moment this case stopped being local news and started becoming something the entire country was watching. Good, I have verified, up-to-date names to correct the transcript's version. The friend's name is actually Trace's Tin Shepherd, not Trakin Shepherd, and the woman's full name is Katie McCormick, with sister Gracie McCormick. Here is Chapter 4. Nolan Wells' friends have said he chose to stay behind on Horn Island to keep talking with a young woman, later identified as 19-year-old Katie McCormick. Warren Hudson's mother, Ashley Cole, said her son spoke with Nolan around 3 that afternoon and that Nolan indicated he'd catch a ride back with another group. But Katie's sister, Gracie McCormick, has publicly disputed that version. According to Gracie, Katie believed Nolan was getting on the boat he'd arrived on, not staying behind. Katie assumed the friends telling him to get on the boat wouldn't have left him, Gracie told the Daily Mail. 2 people, present for the same conversation, remember it in opposite directions. Trace's Tin Shepherd, a close friend of Nolan's, gave on-record interviews to Rolling Stone and Good Morning America addressing 2 other major flashpoints in this case. Shepherd has said he wants to speak up rather than let speculation continue to define his friend's story. His statements became central to unwinding 2 pieces of evidence that had already gone viral by the time he spoke. The first was a photo showing Nolan surrounded by a group at a pool party, posted online on July 5 and quickly treated as proof he'd survived Horn Island. Rolling Stone's reporting, along with metadata from the image, confirmed the photo was actually taken on June 27, over a week before the 4th of July trip. Shepherd told the outlet his friend group had planned that pool gathering long before that date. The photo wasn't evidence of anything happening after Horn Island. It was simply posted late. The second was a video capturing someone shouting near the island, which spread online as the last known footage of Nolan, allegedly showing him demanding his phone back during a heated exchange. Shepherd told Rolling Stone and GMA directly that the voice on that recording was his own, not Nolan's, and that he didn't believe Nolan even appeared in the footage. "Those were not Nolan's words, they were mine," Shepherd said. Both pieces of evidence followed the same pattern. An image or recording surfaces with no context, gets assigned a story that fits what people already suspect, and spreads before anyone verifies when it was taken or whose voice is actually in it. In both cases here, the correction came directly from a named source speaking on the record, not from anonymous pushback. That distinction, between a claim online and a claim confirmed by someone willing to put their name on it, is what eventually separated fact from noise in this case. The spread of misinformation came with a cost. Nolan's mother, Christine Wansley, has publicly addressed AI-generated content falsely tied to her and this case, writing on Facebook that the internet is unhinged and asking people to stop spreading unverified claims. Shepard himself has described the experience of becoming part of the story as heartbreaking, adding to the pressure already surrounding everyone connected to Nolan's final hours. If you want every update on this case built from named sources and public record instead of unverified claims, subscribing means you won't miss it. I have accurate, verified details now. DA Angel Myers McElrath, not McCareth, attorneys Ahmad Smith and Liza Park, the phone dispute timeline extending into August, and the joint exam location. I'll write Chapter 5 reflecting this accurate, current state, without the invented Tyler Bailey and Eric Hers figures from the original transcript unless I can confirm them. Let me verify those two names quickly. Now I have verified, up-to-date facts. Here is Chapter 5. Nolan's family has said their communication with the Jackson County Sheriff's Office was minimal in the weeks after his death, with long gaps between updates. Under Mississippi law, crime victims' families are entitled to receive an incident report within 72 hours. That window came and went without one. The gap in communication became one of the family's central frustrations, alongside a sheriff's office that maintained, early on, that there was no reason to suspect a crime. On July 15, Nolan's parents and their legal team met directly with Jackson County District Attorney Angel Myers McElrath. Following that meeting, Ben Crump announced two developments. First, once the sheriff's investigation concludes, the case will be presented to a grand jury. Second, both sides agreed to a joint forensic examination of Nolan's phone, conducted at the Digital Forensics Lab at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, with the family's experts and the state's investigators examining the device together. A joint, simultaneous extraction matters because of chain of custody. If investigators pull data from a phone alone and later report that certain content was deleted or unrecoverable, the family has no independent way to verify that finding. If the family's experts extract the data without the state present, the reverse problem applies. Attorney Ahmad Smith, representing the family, has since raised concerns about how that agreement was carried out. In a letter to the district attorney's office, Smith noted that in mid-August, prosecutors gave the family a 48-hour deadline to turn over the phone while Nolan's parents were out of state, calling it inconsistent with a good faith process. Two separate autopsies have been conducted on Nolan's body. The state of Mississippi's official autopsy results, including toxicology, have not yet been publicly released as of this recording. Separately, the family commissioned an independent autopsy performed by forensic pathologist Dr. Roger Mitchell in Washington, D.C., funded in part by Colin Kaepernick. Those results, announced July 22, ruled Nolan's cause and manner of death undetermined, pending investigation. Crump's team has said Dr. Mitchell is still working to obtain additional tissue and photographs that weren't available during that initial examination.
Wonder if there's no waves, no strong current, why is that body up on a shore? How did it get there? And just like when we're looking at blood evidence or other forms of evidence, if something is in a certain position within a scene, you have to question how it got there. I have investigated a lot of deaths, bodies in canals, rivers, lakes, large bodies of water, never really near the ocean, to where you would expect somebody to wash up to shore. But in these cases, even though there's strong current, waves, large bodies of water, I've never really seen bodies up on a shore, especially up out of the water enough to where they could decompose significantly to where they can't be identified or can't be fingerprinted. So that would be a very big question that I would have in this case is, with the absence of waves, with the absence of a strong current, how in the world did this 19-year-old man end up on shore, out of the water?
Josh, I'm going to pick back up with you and Nolan's family at the coroner's office, but you disagree with Jeff's characteristic. Explain.
Wind, wave, tides, currents. If you look, there's also there's some pictures, some aerial pictures that show driftwood way on the beach. Those four things are what impacted, as I appreciate, where Nolan ultimately ended up. If you look in one of those pictures, man, a wave is about to come right over and crest right near where the body's at. So that shows that there is some wave actions and some currents. The winds, the waves, the tides, the currents have a huge impact on, anything that's put into that water. It's known as the washing machine. It's a high tide, high current area. So that was the first things that I looked at whenever I saw that picture, and that is one of those pictures that I showed to the sheriff immediately as I received it. The stuff that's dark in that picture right there, I believe that that's debris, and that debris could have easily or was washed up on that island. And if you look at the picture as well into the water, the white is that's wave action, either from wind, tides, or currents. So, and it's going towards the beach. When you walk down the beach and you find shells and you find, the bottle with the message in it, it gets washed up on the beach.
Okay, so I think in simple terms, you're saying you believe the body was washed up from the water to that location. Okay, and Gentry is saying typically a body is found where it goes in the water. So you're right. Tidal experts, water experts will have to determine that. I want to get back to you at the coroner's office. A dental exam was used to make the ID, which leads me to another question. If his face and his fingertips were so decomposed that they can't make an ID, then how do they know there was not bruising or there was not skin marks on his face, on his hands? That's a whole nother thing. You're not a medical examiner. I get it. But that's a question that needs to be answered back to you. The family, Miss Christine, the dad, were asked to provide DNA. Okay. You did not see the DNA taken, probably a buccal swab. What happened then?
So if I may add one thing, is I think that'd be a great question to ask the coroner is, how did he identify? Because he was pretty sure, in his best professional opinion, that was Nolan. And maybe he wanted the dental records just out of professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, isn't that one of the most definite ways to identify? Sure, and out of courtesy to the family, let's do it the easy way for you as well as to get the dental records. So moving forward, man, we left. We went to the house. There was a gathering at the house, and the people started to pour in, and it was a very emotional time. Again, the family, the friends and family that were there they were extremely welcoming to myself. Todd Terrell also came he came within, 30 minutes. We stayed there for about 30 minutes. We had conversation with the mother, Mr. Elmore, and some of the other family members and discussed a couple things with them. GoFundMe being one of them. And we wanted to assist with that as far as the development, and helping to spread the word on that piece, as well as offer our services, and anything that we could possibly do to assist this family in this time of grief. We're there for them. Still there today. Anything that they possibly need, we're here to provide. If it's a shoulder to cry on, we're there. If she wants to get in an airplane or if she wants to get in a boat and go back out to Horn Island, we're there. We got it for her. She's been offered those services. We just want her to know and the family to know that we're there. We're 110% supportive because, again, there's no playbook on how to grieve the loss of a child.
Hi, guys. Nancy Grace here. Every day, living expenses keep climbing higher and higher, and high credit card interest is not making life any easier. If you are a homeowner, your home equity is really your best financial tool. American Financing can help you consolidate high-interest credit card debt with a very strong chance of an interest rate hike. Yes, hike. This September, waiting to act could cost you thousands of dollars, and with rates in the fives, There's really no better time to find out how much you could save. Ditch the 20% interest rates on credit cards. It's insane. American Financing borrowers save an average of $800 a month. There are 0 upfront fees, and you may even delay up to 2 mortgage payments. Dial 866-888-0344. Repeat, 866-888-0344. Or just go online to americanfinancing.net/Nancy. Repeat, americanfinancing.net/Nancy, and good luck. Josh, at that time when you were at Nolan's home after leaving the coroner's office with the family, was there any concern that there had been foul play?
You know, it really didn't come up. It just didn't come up. I think that whole grieving process, and it hit her hard when they got back to the house. You know, at what point did potential foul play or the thoughts of foul play or the accusations come into mind? You know, I don't know.
I think you're probably right that at that time she walks in, Josh, and she comes into a home where she knows her son will never be back in his room ever again. And when you see all the relatives and neighbors come in, it gets real. It's real.
It does.
And the pictures of Nolan are still
real.
out. I mean, all the
Yep.
family photos are there, and I don't know when it hits you that that's all you have going forward. That's it. Photos and memories. Photos and memories.
So, ma'am, if I
Question.
can say one thing,
Please do.
I hear the emotion in your voice, right? I can hear it in your voice, and that's a sympathetic emotion for that mother, knowing that she has, at that point when she walked through that door, it became real, and it became the hardest day, the beginning of the hardest time of her life. Again, that's I pray every day for the peace and comfort. But ma'am, seeing that coming from you, and understanding the emotion behind it and what this lady's going through and what this family's going through and what the community's going through, it's very important.
A grand jury referral is standard procedure in Jackson County for unexplained or suspicious deaths, according to the district attorney's own office, and does not by itself indicate criminality. It means a panel of citizens will eventually review the completed investigation and decide whether the evidence supports an indictment. What that indictment could cover remains open. It isn't limited to how Nolan died. It could extend to anything connected to how the aftermath was handled, if the evidence supports it. Attorney Liza Park, on Crump's legal team, said publicly that the family's tip line has been receiving over 100 calls a day from people with information related to the case. Attorney Eric Hertz has said the team is working to connect credible tips directly with investigators, rather than let information sit unused outside official channels. Verified, the church is Center Point Church. July 20th, Tyler Perry paid for the funeral. Sharpton and Perry announced a combined $100,000 reward, and Colin Kaepernick's connection is specifically to funding the independent autopsy. Here is Chapter 6. As it stands right now, Nolan Wells traveled to Horn Island on July 4th with a group of friends and was last seen around 3 that afternoon. His friend's boat left the island at 4:31, confirmed by GPS data, and returned without him. His body was recovered 2 days later and identified through dental records. His phone stayed behind on the boat, and his Snapchat activity stopped that same day. What remains disputed is the account of his final conversation, contradicted between Katie McCormick's family and Nolan's friend group, along with unresolved questions about his phone's data and the timeline investigators are still working to confirm. What remains unknown is the official cause and manner of Nolan's death. The state autopsy results have not been released, and the family's independent autopsy has been ruled undetermined, pending further investigation. On July 20th, Nolan was laid to rest at Center Point Church in Ocean Springs. Filmmaker Tyler Perry paid for the funeral. Reverend Al Sharpton delivered the eulogy and announced a $50,000 reward for information leading to a conviction, which Perry matched, bringing the total to $100,000. Filmmaker Spike Lee and former NFL player Terrell Owens were among those who attended. Colin Kaepernick has helped fund the family's independent autopsy investigation. Christine Wansley has continued speaking publicly since her son's funeral, appearing at press conferences and public forums to keep pressure on investigators. She has said plainly that she will not stop until she has real answers about what happened to her son, and that staying visible is part of how she intends to get them. What comes next includes the release of the state's toxicology results, further findings from the family's independent forensic team, the joint phone examination process, and an eventual grand jury review once the sheriff's investigation concludes. Whether Katie McCormick ever gives a direct, on-record account of her own remains an open question. If you've made it this far, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next confirmed development in this case. Tell us in the comments which unresolved detail you think matters most.